Hi guys, welcome back to the spare room restoration. Today we're going to be looking at repairing this bit of lath and plaster wall here that's come loose. We've removed this radiator just to give us a bit more access, so I'll bring you in and it's got a little bit to show you about what the wall used to look like before we stripped everything back. So I'll bring you in, I'll show you that now. Okay, so this is behind the radiator. This wallpaper here is what it used to be plastered with when we moved in, so you can understand why we want to get rid of that. This down here looks to be an older version of the wallpaper, which is a little bit dated these days. It looks like they've done some kind of repair in this more modern gypsum plaster when they put the radiator on, and they've actually plastered over bits of wallpaper, which is a bit odd. But you know, I'm sure it was a bit of a rush job, and I've probably been guilty of doing similar stuff. As you can see, we've taken the radiator off, capped it. A couple of interesting things we found behind the radiator. One quite old looking pen with pencil sharpener, and this also looks to be someone's sixth form awards speech. So congratulations Chris Hodgson, you appear to have cleared up on this one. Okay, just to give you a rough idea of, it's pretty hard to see on the camera without the shadow. So this is how much the wall is moving. And you can see it's quite a large patch over here where the plaster's come away from the lath behind it, and it's just kind of hanging on the horsehair that's binding it all together. And that's really the only thing, it's just a skin that's kind of keeping it on. It's not actually binding to the wall behind it. So what we're going to do is we're going to try and re-glue this plaster to the laths behind it. Okay, so I've just done a trial run upstairs. I'm just waiting for that to dry, and while I'm doing that, I'm just going to explain what exactly the anatomy of a lath and plaster wall is and why we get the plaster coming away. So historically, lime plastering is what's been done in houses like this. The plaster itself isn't very adhesive, so it tends to rely on what we call a key or a mechanical key, where we need something physical to hold the plaster to the wall rather than, say, the chemical adhesion of modern plasters and glues. So what happens, we have a wall is made of these things called laths, which are just small wooden planks that are put across the wall with gaps in between. So the old-time plasterer would come along and he'd force the plaster into these gaps, like this. And then he'd build up his plaster over the top. And then end up with a finished flat-ish face like that. So these mechanical, these bits where it splodges out the back of the laths, this is the way that the plaster is physically held to the wall. So the thing stopping this plaster from pulling away is the fact that these kind of mushroomed out bits are holding it to these laths. Now what happens over time, especially in houses like this or this room that we're doing at the moment used to be the kids' room, so you probably get a lot of impacts on the wall, is that these keys here get cracked and fall off. So you lose these bits here. So this bit of plaster here is not physically held to the wall. So what that allows it to do is to just come away from the wall like this. And that's what we saw upstairs, is that we've got a patch of wall where we can kind of press it and it's spongy and it springs in and out and it kind of falls away from the wall a bit. So what we're going to do now is we're going to drill a hole using a masonry bit. We're going to come along, we're going to cut through our plaster with a masonry bit. The reason we're using a masonry bit is because they're not very good at drilling through wood. So we're going to come through, touch the wood, and then we're going to stop drilling. It should be quite easy to feel because the masonry bit just won't want to bite into this wood. We're then going to inject a load of glue through this hole in here, and then we are going to screw a plasterboard screw in with a big washer on it. So we've got a big washer and a screw here. What we'll then do is tighten up this screw, and this should push all the glue in behind the plaster and clamp it to the wall. So we should end up with something that looks like this, where the glue spreads out behind and that holds the plaster to the wall, and then we've got a screw here just clamping everything together while that glue dries. Once that glue's dried, we're going to take that out, unscrew it. So now we don't need these keys on the wall where we put the glue. The glue is chemically binding the wood to the plaster, and then all we have to do is come along, patch up this hole, and then continue decorating as normal. Okay, so we're going to start drilling our holes first of all. I've just got an 8-metre drill here because it allows me to be quite gentle when I'm drilling the holes, and there's no danger of me damaging the plaster any more than it's damaged, or breaking any laths by drilling through them accidentally. So that's why I'm using that. I'm just going to try and feel, there's a little hole here that allows me to see where the laths are, so that's probably a nice place to start. I'm just going to start drilling through, and then as soon as I feel I've hit that lath, I'm going to stop. That's through now. So because I know that the laths are all horizontal, now I've found one, I can then start moving across and do a couple of holes on this lath. I just caught the edge there. Not always necessarily exactly horizontal. I know from the hole we've got up there roughly what the spacing is, so I think there should be one down here-ish. Yeah, got one there. Now when you're doing this, if you find your drill suddenly drop all the way through, that means you've missed a lath and you've gone between the gaps, in which case don't squirt any glue down there, and usually what people do is they just put a little X to say don't put any glue down this one. Whoop, like has just happened there. So that's obviously gone all the way through. So I just need to find my pencil. Just put a little X, and I know not to put any glue down that one because it's just going all the way straight through the back, so it won't give me anything, it'll just be a waste of glue. Right, so I've got a 4x4 grid there. I'll probably leave it at that for now, just because the glue is quite quick drying, so I'm going to do them in small clumps. So I'll hoover these out. Okay, so I'm using a polyurethane glue. One of the things that helps that bind is wetting down the joints a little bit. So I've got just a little spray bottle of water. I'm just going to squirt a little bit in each one, just to wet down behind the in between the plaster and the laths. So I'm ready to start gluing. One thing we've got to be careful with this is that it's got about a 5-minute cure time. So that's the reason I'm not gone for trying to repair this whole bit of plaster, is because I'm kind of restrained by how quickly this glue is going to dry. So I'm going to do them all in small patches. What I've also done is I've got a load of my screws already in the washer, just laid out on the floor. So when I drill these in, it's going to be quite easy. Just pick these up and drill. I'm going to use an electric drill just for speed. I've got that on the lowest torque setting. I've also got a couple of rags just to tidy up any loose glue, especially around bits where there's already a bit of plaster damage. If you end up getting glue on the surface of the plaster and then squeezing the washer in, when you pull the washer off, you're probably going to end up pulling a fair bit of plaster off. So try and really push the gun in, get it down there, and if there's any on the surface, wipe it off before it dries, because otherwise you'll probably damage the plaster. So here we go. Had some issues there because the cork gun's kind of on the way out, but let's just start drilling. Okay, so that we've got all the washers in now. That feels a lot more solid now. Ugh. Just a bit of glue. That feels a lot more solid now. Now all those washers are in. So hopefully, once the glue sets, we take those washers out, it should feel exactly the same. So we'll leave that for a bit, and we'll come back and see how it does. These have now been drying for about a couple of hours, so I'm just going to start unscrewing them, and then we'll probably have to prise some of these washers away from the wall, because I imagine they'll be a little bit glued in some places. Okay, so I've not got the washers off yet, but you can kind of see already that there's not really any give at all in this wall, so that seems to work like an absolute treat. We may just have some slight issues. Yeah, where there's been a little bit too much glue, we've just got a little bit of plaster damage there, so I'm just going to try and ping off some of the rest of these. So yeah, that seems to work pretty well. So you can see up here, still loads of, that's what it kind of used to be like up here, and then where we glued it, solid. So I'll just get on with doing the rest of this wall. I think we'll probably have to do that in a couple more batches, and then I'll bring you in to see the finished result. Right, we've finished repairing all of this wall now. This is all now dried. You can now see there's not really any give at all in this, apart from like just the general kind of springiness that you get with lath and plaster walls. One of the other routes you can do when you've got a problem like this is to strip it all back, put plasterboard up and re-skim it. It does mean that you kind of remove one of the original features of the property, which isn't necessarily a good thing, and this is quite a low cost fix really. All I've used is just the glue, a bit of time. I think the glue was about £7 for the tube, and we've barely used a third of it for this kind of patch here. So it's quite a low cost fix. It's a little bit labour intensive. We've obviously got some cleaning up to do, and we'll cover that when we do the kind of plaster repair on the whole wall. So I think if you've got a similar problem, I'd definitely try and solve it this way with the glue, rather than stripping the whole thing down, which is going to be very messy, quite time consuming, and probably a bit more expensive. Next video, we'll be doing a bit of plaster repair, trying to get this finished when we do a bit of lining paper over the top of this. Okay, thanks guys.